What's your inner voice like now as someone who used to deal with depression and anxiety?
I was definitely more leaning into the anxious, rather than depressed, and that was more like just projecting the future based off unhealed wounds from the past and fears of what happened in the past was going to repeat itself. But now I think my inner voice is just, and it's a constant work I'm doing. I think mental health in general is like putting in reps. It's not just like, oh, I'm good. It's like continuously giving yourself the love you need mentally and physically. And I'm just trying to build a lot more empathy and compassion for myself. Because I didn't directly shame myself, being like, you're not good enough, you're a piece of shit, all this shit. But I would be like, I expected more of myself. Like we were talking with public speaking, I'm like, you just won 4 Olympiads and now you're literally like heart racing, can barely breathe because you're about to talk in front of like a few hundred people. Like you should be able to do this, you're better than this. And that's a form of shame in itself, of expecting something out of myself that maybe I'm not ready for, or just rather than accepting who I am and where I'm at in my life. So I think just building that compassion and being like, accepting who I am, and who I am isn't what this perception that maybe people have built with me. And I believe you had this guy on, Peter Crone. I love that guy.
Yeah,
he has this quote and he says, life presents you as people and circumstances to show you where you're not free. And I think that the way I spoke about my inner voice and this expectation of myself with where I wasn't free, and then life put me in this position of millions of people with this idolized perception of someone they look up to is calm, cool, collected, has his shit together. Sebum, he's so good, he's up there. And I was like, I really have to be that now. Like, I better be fucking perfect now. My dad was like that growing up too. So I had this like, okay, men are stoic and they don't feel anything and they weather the storm and they're good. And I was like a very sentient being, like emotional. And I was like, fuck. So I kind of denied that part of myself for a while, but now being able to just integrate that and accepting it is who I am and being able to show it more and allow it to come up more in situations. Like I almost try and twist some conversations to like allow myself to be like, I'm not perfect, I have anxiety, just to like show that it's there, and then being like, well, now this facade's kind of gone. The presentation isn't to be what people want me to be, it's just to be myself, and whatever happens after that can fuck off. So I guess overall the inner voice in myself I'm building is just more compassion and empathy.
I would say so too. I remember I did this workout, high intensity interval workout thing on an assault bike. Mm-hmm. And this guy that was coaching me at the time asked me to try and remember where my mind went to when my heart got into zone 5.
Yeah.
So whatever, like 160, 170 BPM and above. And the voice, this is probably 6 or 7 years ago. And the voice that came back was fucking awful. Yeah. Like it was so just, this sucks, you're not good enough, panic, like tightness and terror. And I did a workout again a couple of months ago. Actually, no, it was 2 weeks ago with Tim Kennedy. Tim, UFC guy. No, he's like a professional bad guy, but he works for the US government. Okay. Anyway, I did this workout with him and my heart rate must have got to that same place. Mm-hmm. And it's the first time I've done it since then. And the words that came back to me were so different. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God. I thought that was I genuinely thought that was the physics of my own inner experience. Mm-hmm. Like that these were just unchanging. Yeah. These are just the unchanging dynamics. These are the laws of the inside of.
Did you find over time you had to work on it and put in reps and like understand, or was it just purely your physical like abilities and success and the world telling you you're good and the podcast succeeding, all this shit? Was it that, or was it more personal like reflection and empathy?
So, or
both?
I think both. I would love to be able to say, just 1,500 sessions of meditation and a couple of good psilocybin trips and that was me sorted. But it would be a lie to say that the world telling you, or you proving to the world and the world answering back that yes, you are good enough. I think it's unrealistic to have confidence when you don't have an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are. Like if the only place that your confidence exists is in your mind and you've never manifested it into reality, then what you're asking for isn't confidence, it's delusion. Yeah. Because how can you say that you are all of these things? I'm a really great husband. I feel like a great husband, but I go out and cheat on my wife every night. Yeah. Well, there's an incongruence here, but you can behave in the way of being a great husband and not believe it yourself because you have unhealed traumas from the past and stuff like that. So it's definitely both. But yeah, it's just really, really important, I think, for people to hear that the answer to the holes and the voids that you feel inside of yourself, if the guy that's won Mr. Olympia 4 times in a row is telling you that the inner work is an important part of that process, and that upon winning the first one, the main sensation was relief, not happiness. Where do you think that you're going to get this from if you're seeking outside of yourself validation to fix something that's inside?
Mm-hmm. It's being smart enough to like balance that too, and like know the work you have to put in. So like you have to earn the right, like you said, you can't just tell yourself this delusion, you have to earn the right to get there. You have to put in the work, and then you have to kind of like lean into the, okay, now I'm really putting in the work, now I need to work on why I'm talking to myself so negatively or not. But unless you have both there, it doesn't really work. It's like 1 + 1 = 2, but you can't really do one without the other.
What else does it mean to have a champion mentality to you? I know that you talk about this a lot. Mm-hmm. What are the principles that you rely on for that?
Again, something that definitely elevated over time. I literally just put that on a shirt once because it sounded cool, and I was like, oh fuck, like this, there's more to this. And I think the biggest thing was, originally it was like just winning, and it evolved into just like a no quit mentality. It's accepting these fears I have, this doubt I have, this everything that goes through my mind, but regardless of that, not quitting and not giving up on myself. No matter how hard is the time and what I'm going through and whatever shit I feel, I'm going to still put in the same work regardless of how I feel. And that's a champion mentality, because the champion's not controlled by their outside circumstances. They control their own mind inside and how they act, and then the world goes on around them. So it's a huge aspect of that. And I'm also now leaning into, I really think like greatness and champions not only elevate themselves, but the people around them. And I think you are put into a position where you can help whether your close people around you, people who follow you, people who look up to you, whatever it might be, anyone in your life. You're in a position now of greatness where you can elevate others up to a higher level, and being able to inspire them, bring them up to be better people is part of what makes you great, rather than just this selfish act of being you, being the best for yourself.
Still Olympian, let's go back! Chris Bumstead!
I have this thing I say, champion mentality. It's not about winning, it's not about a trophy, it's about having no quit.
4-time